A reading from the book of Exodus. Now a new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. He said to his people, "Look, the Israelites' people are more numerous and more powerful than we. Come, let us deal shrewdly with them, or they will increase, and in the event of war, join our enemies and fight against us, and escape from the land." Therefore they set taskmasters over them to oppress them with forced labor. They built supply cities, Pithom and Ramesses, for Pharaoh. But the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied and spread, so that the Egyptians came to dread the Israelites. The Egyptians became ruthless in imposing tasks on the Israelites and made their lives bitter with hard service in mortar and brick and in every kind of field of labor. They were ruthless in all the tasks that they imposed on them. The king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was named Shiphrah and the other Puah, "When you act as midwives to the Hebrew women and see them on the birth stool, if it is a boy, kill him. But if it is a girl, she shall live." But the midwives feared God, and they did not do as the king of Egypt commanded them, but they let the boys live. So the king of Egypt summoned the midwives and said to them, "Why have you done this and allowed the boys to live?" The midwives said to Pharaoh, "Because the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women, for they are vigorous and give birth before the midwife comes to them." So God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and became very strong. And because the midwives feared God, he gave them families. Then Pharaoh commanded all his people, "Every boy that is born to the Hebrews you shall throw into the Nile, but you shall let every girl live." Now a man from the house of Levi went and married a Levite woman. The woman conceived and bore a son. And when she saw that he was a fine baby, she hid him 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and placed it with bitumen and pitch. She put the child in it and placed it among the reeds on the bank of the river Nile. His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. The daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the river, while her attendants walked beside the river. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her maid to bring it. When she opened it, she saw the child. He was crying, and she took pity on him. "This must be one of the Hebrews' children," she said. Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and get you a nurse from the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you?" Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Yes." So the girl went and called the child's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child and nurse it for me, and I will give you your wages." So the woman took the child and nursed it. When the child grew up, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and she took him as her son. She named him Moses because, she said, "I drew him out of the water." The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So I'll start by apologizing to our epistle and our gospel readings this morning. But the story of baby Moses in the reeds of the Nile is just too good to pass up. So we're going to explore this amazing story from the Old Testament, a story that is over 3,500 years old and still speaks to us today. To fully explore any biblical story, we have to set the context and paint the picture just a bit. Joseph is gone from the scene, and the new Pharaoh, Seti I, is in power when Moses is born in the late 14th century BCE. In Seti's Egypt, the Hebrew people are oppressed as slaves, and there is great fear on the part of their Egyptian masters because the Hebrew slaves far outnumber their Egyptian oppressors. The Egyptians have fear. The Hebrew people certainly have fear, because where there is a system of oppression, no one is safe. In a system that perpetuates such evil and darkness, it is empathy and faithfulness to God that shines a bright light. And when Pharaoh orders the death of the male babies of the Hebrew people, it is the women in the story who are the heroes, Puah and Shiphrah, who defy Pharaoh and bring life into the world. At this point, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the silent characters of this story. What do I mean by a silent character? In any and every biblical story, it's helpful to look for those characters who are behind the scenes. They don't have any lines, but they shape the story in very big ways. God is the primary silent character of this story. Faced with widespread systemic evil oppression, it is God who lights the light of empathy in these brave, strong midwives, in Moses' mother, and in Pharaoh's daughter. And more steps toward justice are taken. You can trace the empathy across all the divides. The other silent character in the story is baby Moses. Placed among the reeds on the bank of the Nile, this is no ordinary babe, but a seed of justice. And when the seeds of justice are nourished with empathy and watered with faithfulness, well, there's no stopping change, is there? We know the rest of the story, don't we? We've seen the 10 Commandments, how Moses grows into who God wants him to be, to encounter God on Mount Sinai, and to then lead the Hebrew people from bondage. At this point in the story, though, Moses is just a baby, but justice and freedom are coming. Sounds pretty good to me.